afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Ali, Coram, and Ed Carson with a breakdown of the action in today's session, Tuesday, July 16th, where small caps continue to produce jaw-dropping outperformance over the last couple of days and really kicking it into high gear today, Ed.
Yeah, a lot of strength in the market. I mean, the Nasdaq's a little dull, but it's not falling. I want to take a look at three stocks that were flashing buy signals today: Toast, Uber, and Woodward.
Yeah, I mean, does seem like an ideal scenario. We'll give more detail on that as we look at the major indexes. We're going to start with the Russell here today, up 3.5% by sessions close, followed by a strong performance in the Dow Jones Industrial Average as well, up 1.9% on the day. Then we had the S&P 500 up 0.6% or so, continuing its strong and steady climb, and the Nasdaq also with a positive day here, up about 0.2%. So like you said, holding up, not falling apart, but definitely, Ed, it seems like handing the baton to the small caps. I mean, if you go back to last Thursday, in real time on IBD Live and on this show, Stock Market Today, we were noting the material change, and now it seems like a seismic shift.
Really, so yeah, I mean, in case there's any doubts that this was a head fake after Thursday, that the last few days have made that clear. Really powerful move. Obviously, I think a lot of this is the backdrop of that people expecting the Fed to cut rates. There's other things out there, maybe election shifts going on. This is at a 3-year high or the highest level, a multi-year high. Really powerful breakout here. And we're seeing in a lot of sectors. It's the small caps, it's mid caps, it's the Dow, it's a lot of sectors outside of tech, really, really broad based. And you say it's pretty much ideal because these sectors that were lagging or, for so long are coming on, and we're not even seeing the Nasdaq, struggle. I mean, it's almost ideal. So if you're still in a lot of, say, big tech names, you might not be reaping the huge rewards, but you're not seeing some violent sell-off. It's been a great rotation, a great broadening of this market rally.
It really has. And let's talk about the Dow here. What was driving the Dow today, Ed? Powering above 40,000 a couple of sessions ago and really kicking it up today.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the final things, but I think this is the best percentage gain since June of 2023. United Health was, this is a price-weighted index. There's a lot of things going on, but United Health, huge move on earnings, and it's a $500 stock. So that's really packs on when you pack on 33 points. Goldman Sachs, but there was a lot of strength here. So really a lot of, again, it's a long underperformance. Don't know how long it can last in that sense of actually outperforming the S&P and NASDAQ, but really nice to see this kind of power.
Yes. And also to underscore the breadth that we've seen as of late, here's a look at RSP. This is the equal weighted S&P 500 ETF. So whereas the S&P was up about 0.6% today, here's RSP up 1.7%, and finally breaking out of this multi-month consolidation here, Ed.
Yeah, another sign just that, again, there's all these things that were struggling around their 50-day lines, and they couldn't get it. They tease above it, and then it's just like everything just went. And it's, again, showing that breadth beyond the mega caps, really, really a lot of strength.
Yes, QQEW as well, worth peeking in on here, up about 1% on the day, whereas QQQ basically flat on the day. So that also tells you where the money is flowing from and moving to, quite frankly, Ed. And
it's also a lot of things. Once you get past the mega caps, a lot of techs are doing fine. I mean, this is a big cap tech index, and once you get out, so there's a QQEW shows that everything seems to be working. So it's beyond just that.
Yeah, and here's mid caps, MDY, of course, just like small caps, mid caps also participating. So MDY up 2.5% today. But just quickly circling back to the Russell, here's the ETF tracking the Russell 2000 IWM. If we go to the weekly chart, I mean, you can just see that we are now finally getting out of this sideways trading range. I mean, really last week was critical, but we've said this week almost just as critical, because can we continue to see that momentum, or is it really going to be just another one of these head fakes, maybe just a more pronounced one? But as of now, I mean, this is saying all systems go. It seems like that's not going to mean it's going to be easy from here on out, but this looks quite bullish.
Yeah, I think people forget because it's been such a mega cap and big cap rally. Small caps traditionally outperformed. I mean, because they're newer, they're faster growing. I mean, there's reasons why the AI, certain other things, why the bigger ones get the spoils, kind of situation. Why big caps have outperformed for so long. But there's a reason why people look at small caps, is that often that traditionally, historically, they were the better performers over time.
Mm-hmm. So, notable move there. I guess we can also just look at, let's see it for the month. For the month, how are we doing so far? We're 2 weeks into the month, and the Russell's already up 11%. So very impressive there. Let's take a look at some sector ETFs and thematic ETFs. Here's a look at IBIT continuing to extend its gains this week. Big pop on Monday. I think it was about 9 or 10%. Yeah, 10% on Monday, up almost another 3% today, and now back above the 50-day line, Ed. So some potential setups brewing here in crypto land.
Yeah, definitely there are. And yeah, it's just bounced right back, undercut. It did a little bit of an undercut. So it's almost like a little double bottom there. If nothing else, it was just that, a really nice shakeout in that regard, and really showing some power here. There's a lot of crypto stocks that are showing similar action as well.
And now that it got back above the 50-day line, this IBIT ETF, let's see if it can hold above that level, tighten up. That would be ideal. And now let's take a look at IGV. This is the software sector. So how is the software sector looking at?
I mean, there was mixed. It was like, it wasn't a huge day one way or the other, but it bounced back. Now stepping back after those 3 nasty days, or 2.5 nasty days, I guess, because it rebounded off there. It found support where you'd like to. It had this huge run, and now it's sort of forming a handle. I mean, then a lot of stocks are doing the same. So it was a little messy at times, but showed nice action here.
Right. And so I guess what this is showing is, just because money is rotating out of the NASDAQ, it's really the mega caps. But there are still setups there, and maybe even the mega caps too might be setting up new entries of their own, but also just, taking a look at the software sector. Don't count it out. Maybe there are some setups brewing. And let's also take a look at the home builder stocks. Ed, I do have to disclose that I own a position in XHB as of last week, and this is an impressive move. I mean, we saw, the small caps and the mid caps really accelerate the gains, but here's XHB up 5.7% today alone, breaking out of a double bottom. So this interest rate discussion exciting a lot of investors.
Yeah, and again, it was something, again, I've talked about on IBD Live. It's like for 3 months, yields were falling, and home builders weren't taking advantage. And it seems like everybody, for whatever reason, there's this whole catalyst that finally it all came together. Yields are at 4-month lows, so that's been helping. I think last week was the time to buy. I guess if you're going to buy some of the home builders now, maybe an ETF would be the way to go, because there's that risk of pullbacks after such a big move. I mean, look, there's a lot of power. There's no, it's looking like it's going to keep going. But yeah, that Thursday was really good, or certainly maybe the Friday if you decide, oh, I'm going to, because it decisively went over that trend line.
Right.
So that was fine. But now it feels a little stretched. But boy, what a move! And yeah, seeing it with a lot of sectors.
And a couple more to just quickly run through here. Here's XLE up about 0.4% today. XLI, Ed. Look at this industrial sector up 2.5% today, also breaking out of a multi-month long base. XBI, this is the biotech sector, also with a day of strength, adding to what is this up now? I think 8 days in a row, up another 2% today. XLF, we've got financial earnings now out, also adding to the win streak here, up another 1.1%. So seems like the conclusion here with this evidence is breadth, and more breadth in the market.
Breadth and power. I mean, it's not it's not a 2-inch deep pool that's really wide. There's some real power in this.
Yes, well said. Okay, let's take a look at Toast, up 5.3% above average volume, breaking out of a double bottom base. This stock on our radar last week as it presented some early aggressive swing trader-esque entries here. Ed, I mean, this base isn't without flaws, but I mean, when you have a market where the breadth is there, that means that a lot more things are working. So even bases or, stocks that have been lagging, if you look at the, monthly chart here, it hasn't really participated a whole lot if you take that step back and look at the last couple of years. But it has come well off of its lows from the December quarter last year, and a tight base here and a breakout today, or I guess at least a tight handle, a tighter base. And a tight area in that handle.
Yeah, it's definitely relative. But in this weekly chart also shows some of the flaws is that we've had, you can look at every time it breaks out very quickly, it fails. It's not even just, this. So maybe this is the time, because unlike this was a relatively small base compared to some of the other ones, especially the last one. So maybe this works, but it definitely is an issue. Things to like about it. There was that power. It had a nice little tight handle, bounced off the 50-day, 10-week line. It's turning profitable. That's often just a nice swing because it can really quickly ramp up the profitability because all that money now with these high margins with software companies. The restaurant business, it's interesting that this one didn't really go when a lot of the restaurants were flying, and some of the restaurants seem a little bit shaky. That is one thing. It's it's a restaurant play, it's a software play, it's a payments play. Luckily, everything seems to be working, as you say. So whatever play you want to call it, it's helping. But that's
who knows? Maybe that's the kiss of death. The second I say that, right?
Yeah, I know.
Everything's working.
And the RS line is coming up at least above the handle level. So there's a lot to like about it. But definitely, definitely be watching this one. This is prone to failure, so you can't be saying, "Oh, don't worry about it." It's right. It's an interesting name here.
Yeah, and I think it'll be fascinating to see how the breakouts this week develop over the next couple of days and weeks, because just like the Russell, didn't work until the one time it does. So maybe there are going to be a number of stocks like that, but I think the key for traders is going to be focusing on the ones with the most promise, having that diversification of leadership, which is something that you always remind us, Ed, but not diversification for the sake of it, making sure that, we're still focusing on quality, right? Even though there's going to be more to choose from.
Yeah, and it depends. This is a stock for, depending on your investing style. If you want to go for there might be a high risk, high reward on this one because it could really grow, it could really go. If you're looking for something a little bit steadier, a long-term leader, this is probably not for you.
Great point. Okay, let's take a look at Uber, trying to come back to life here, trying to round the right side of a base, perhaps an early entry this week. We did see a positive reaction last Thursday when we saw news come out about the delay of Tesla's robo-taxi event. That day, Uber up more than 6%, and today up another 2.8% to clear a handle-esque area, Ed, or at least an alternative pivot within the base a couple weeks before earnings.
Yeah, and I think this would be a time to get it, because if you waited till it got all the way up to 82, that would be getting pretty extended from the 50-day line unless it formed a handle. So there's still a little time before earnings. I mean, I have to just make a decision. How much cushion would there be? You have to wait, make those kind of things. Oddly enough, this is one of the biggest positions in XLI. I mean, XLI is an interesting ETF. That's definitely want to look under the hood, because it's not all like machinery and stuff. There's a lot of transportation plays. It's
Mm.
one thing to have FedEx in there. You could argue, okay, there's something vaguely about the economy, but I'm not sure how that works with Uber. But it is a big player in there, but this one's looking interesting. The earnings aren't supposed to be great this year. I know they have big investments and other things going on. It's supposed to rebound next year, so I'm not sure about all the things that are going on there. But they have some decent revenue growth. They have international. They have Uber Eats. I don't know if the robotaxi is something that they have to really worry about for the next few years anyway. But
Mm.
that's something that's in the minds of investors. So if that, that's also something out that's probably not something they have to worry about, even if it's a headline risk for at least the next few months.
Okay. And last but not least, we saw some outperformance from aerospace defense name Woodward today, WWD, up 4.6%, almost topping the left side high of 188.34. But I think arguably actionable here, whether it's a trend line, whether you're talking about it being a retake of the 50-day line, Ed. So, what are your thoughts on the action?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the volume wasn't high, but it was at least higher than the last several days. That would be the one thing, is that there wasn't much volume on this bounce back, and there was volume on the way down. So that's just something to note. This one has solid growth, really strong earnings growth, and solid revenue growth. Earnings are in a couple weeks away, so not a lot of time. So that's
Yeah.
another reason why you might have wanted to buy it now. And when we
Mhm.
talk about earnings coming in 13 days, you don't know what other things,
Yeah.
in the aerospace or industrial things that might come out before Woodward that might, help or hurt this
Influence. Yeah.
stock. So you definitely would want to be aware, if you're buying this, you definitely really want to know, well, who might be influencing this. And if you wanted to wait for the actual breakout, you could. I mean, it's just another point at this point. So if that, that's not, it wouldn't be too extreme from the 50-day line at
Right.
all. It's just another nice stock. It's like, again, yeah, and then with that volume, you can also see the accumulation distribution rating is a D plus, because that's a reflection of that weak volume
Mhm.
pattern, or the volume being on the downside. But still a lot
Mhm.
to like, and there's a lot of other things that were breaking out or flashing buy signals today. There was definitely different things to be looking at today.
Yes. And speaking of things to be looking at, I mean, you mentioned earnings season. So give us a quick preview of what we can expect this week. And I know you and Lexi gave all the details in earnings cheat sheet, which is available at investors.com/videos. But what do we have right around the corner?
Tomorrow morning, and really early in the morning, ASML. That's really going to be important to chip equipment makers. Taiwan Semi, just an enormous impact for the chip sector. That's early Thursday, and then Thursday night will be Netflix, and a bunch of other names will be coming out too. But those are three in the next 36 hours or so.
Yes. Okay. Well, I know you're going to have your hands full, and we will break down all of the key reports on investors.com, and we'll be discussing the action on IBD Live. No doubt, investors.com/IBD Live for all of those details. So we've got you covered there. And then we also have you covered right back here tomorrow after the close. So we'll see you then.